Hey there, you just clicked on First Down Punts. Nice move. This is a podcast about football and how it relates to fantasy football. Hope you like what you hear. We're going to get this thing started. Let's get crazy. And welcome in, everyone, to another episode of First Down Punts. I'm your host, Coach Chris. Today we're going to be going over our Thursday night preview, some updates on injury news and trades and signings, as well as reviewing who are the STAPLEBACK candidates for this year in 2025 fantasy football. If you haven't watched our STAPLEBACK video, I'll put a link here. You can check it out whenever you want. It was earlier in the season, in the off season, we did it. But we'll go over the requirements for what a STAPLEBACK is, all that good stuff. But let's get into this news first. Joe Flacco, updated news today. He is actually 50-50 to play this week's game. I didn't think it was that severe. Didn't sound that severe when I first read about it. Now he's, like I said, the coach comes out and says he's 50-50 to play this week. That's definitely going to affect those fantasy players as Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, Noah Fant, all those guys. It'll affect their fantasy. We saw what happened when Jake Browning was in there before. If Flacco is out this week, you got to take a hit. Jamar Chase is probably the only start from that team. Terry McLaurin, we talked about that in yesterday's video about the quad injury that he came back from and then injured again. He has been ruled out for week 9, so it is not just they were resting him because of the score. He's actually re-injured it. The Bears signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, safety from the Eagles and the Lions and the Eagles and then the Texans, and now headed to Chicago. So that should help out that defense if he's able to play, stay healthy all season and all that. And I'm sure they'll be happy to have him. Along with the Bears, Luther Burden missed practice today with a concussion. I missed this, or it just popped up today. I'm not sure. But I just saw it before I was getting ready to record something, so I wanted to write it down. And Rome Odunze missed practice with a heel injury. So 2 things to pay attention there with the Bears. The Lions have extended Aiden Hutchinson, their defensive end, star defensive end, 4 years, $180 million, I think it was 41 guaranteed. So he's locked up with the end of his rookie contract, and then that, I believe, that for the next 5 years. Nico Collins is expected to play this week. He's expected to get clear from a concussion either today, tomorrow, one of those. It hasn't been reported yet, but by Friday, I'm guessing he's cleared and he's ready to go. So those waiver moves, hope you didn't spend too much on Houston's receivers. If you did go pick him up, that's just something to pay attention to. Pat Surtain, cornerback for the Broncos. We told you he's got I think it's a pectoral injury. He was a possible candidate for IR. Right now they are not putting him on IR. They're hoping he's only going to have to miss 2 to 3 weeks. So good news for him and for that Broncos defense. The Cardinals re-signed Michael Carter. I think it was to their practice squad. I got to double check that, but they re-signed Michael Carter after they released him on Monday. Some kind of weird transaction, managing roster moves. I don't know. I'm waiting to see. I thought maybe they were making a trade or something, but they brought him back. And he's just going to be on the practice squad for now, I believe. And the Jets, a couple trades. Jets have traded cornerback Michael Carter, not the running back from Arizona, but their cornerback Michael Carter II to the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Patriots have traded 2 defensive players, Keon White, defensive end, to the 49ers, and Kyle Duggar, the safety, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a couple trades happening already. We've already had, what was a trade last week that happened? And trade deadline's coming up in the NFL. We're going to see what happens with that. But we're going to get into this STAPLEBACK conversation. We'll do a little screen sharing here. As you can see here, our STAPLEBACK requirements are 4,200 total yards, 3,800 yards passing, 400 yards rushing, and 30 total touchdowns. Now, most quarterbacks that are going to be in the top 10 are going to score over 30 touchdowns. They're going to be able to hit 3,800 yards passing. You got guys like Jalen Hurts, who last year only had 2,900 yards, but we'll go over who our 2024 STAPLEBACks were so you can kind of see what the type of players that you're looking for in fantasy. And this is why we kind of came up with this stat, is because we want to pick the players that best use every aspect of their skills. And with Christian McCaffrey is the king of running back STAPLEBACks. I mean, that's just the facts about it. He's been a STAPLEBACK for years. Every year he's stayed healthy, he's been a STAPLEBACK, I believe, other than maybe his first year. I'd have to go back and double check it. But just the point of, we're looking for players that can score multiple ways so they're never taken off the field. We're looking for quarterbacks that run the ball as well, the Josh Allen types. But we still need you to do what your primary job is. That's why the requirements are set at these parameters. So our running back staple back requirements: 1,400 total yards, 900 yards rushing, and 400 yards receiving, and then 10 plus touchdowns. You get double-digit touchdowns, you are going to be a high scorer for the running back position. We saw, Jamal Williams a few years ago get 17, 19 rushing touchdowns for the Lions. Didn't have a ton of yards, but scored a lot of points because of all those touchdowns. So if you can get to these touchdown marks for all these positions, you're already doing well in fantasy. Now we want to take it to another level with the yardage totals. And then the wide receiver staple back requirements: 1,200 total yards, 900 receiving yards. Now there's a little variation here for me because a lot of wide receivers do kick returns, punt returns. Running backs do too, but not as much anymore. They're usually the backups. They're not getting enough of the opportunities in the front end. And if they get promoted to starting running back due to injury, they usually take them off the return team. But wide receivers that are like secondary wide receivers, they do a lot of returns. You think of guys this year, Chamiri Diki, I've talked about him a couple times now, 120 plus return yards in 6 of 8 games, I believe it is. So the staple backs that we make the alteration is it's 1,200 for rushing and receiving. It's 1,300 for receiving and return. So if you get 400 return yards and 900 yards receiving, I'm considering you a staple back as well. The point of this is you have to get points in multiple ways. And you get 150 return yards, okay, great. A lot of people get that in the league that don't amount to anything fantasy-wise. But if your league rewards you for return yards, then this is the type of player you can also look for as a guy who gets a lot of return yards and receiving yards. So, and then 10-plus touchdowns, same as the running back. If you get double-digit touchdowns as a skill position player, your fantasy manager is already happy. So, at the end of the day, these are our requirements: 4,200 total yards and 30 touchdowns for the quarterback, 1,400 total yards and 10 touchdowns for the running back, 12 or 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns for the wide receivers. Currently, there's no wide receivers on pace for any of this, so it's something I'm going to keep paying attention to, see if we can get somebody to jump up in there. Maybe the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, you find a guy that's like, oh, he's finally taking that next step. He's getting this. He's getting more involved. Maybe he's getting a lot of end arounds lately. Whatever it is, offense change. People change their positions at time, not position so much, but how they're being used on an offense. So we'll see if anybody pops up. But right now, there are no running backs. So our 2024 staple backs, there were only 7 players that actually made the requirements last year: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix at the quarterback position. And then Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Devon Achane. Achane barely made it. He had like 953 rushing yards, but he had over 700, I think it was over 700 receiving yards. So he ended up with 1,600 total yards, like 12 touchdowns. But he didn't even have to get 1,000 yards rushing. And that's the point of this. There's so many running backs that get points rushing and receiving, but they don't necessarily get the 13, 14, 1,500 yard seasons that we see from the standard just running backs like Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams types. And Kyron Williams is actually getting quite a bit of receiving this year. We'll get into that when we get into who's the candidates right now, who's on pace right now, and who's the guys that are just outside of being on pace. So, well, let's get into that. We're going to switch over here. Players that are currently on pace, I put the averages up here for what you need to average per game for each position. For the quarterbacks, you see that I got there Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Drake May. Those are the only 3 guys right now for the quarterback position that are hitting the averages per game in all 3 spots. Pat Mahomes, the requirement is 223.5 passing yards, 23.5 rushing yards, and 1.7 touchdowns per game. Those are all per game. You see the stats here. Mahomes, 262.3, blowing the passing out of the water, 35 yards per game. Pat Mahomes is back running, and he's beating it by almost 12 yards a game. And then 2.6 touchdowns. Can he keep that up all season? We'll find out. If he does, he's going to have another one huge years like he had before. I told you I thought Mahomes and the Chiefs were going to get back on track this year. Like I said, it took a couple games for them to get healthy, but you can see here by the stats. Now, he's been required to run more in those first few games. We're going to see if he can keep that up over the course of the season. But right now, he is the number 1 quarterback in fantasy, and he's the number 1 staple back candidate right now for the quarterback position. Justin Herbert, 21, 40, 248 rushing and 16 total touchdowns, averaging 267.5 yards per game passing, 31 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns per game. Great numbers. Want to see him keep it up. Drake May, He's second-year player. Everybody's big on him right now. There's a reason. He's doing the damn thing. He's got over 2,000 yards passing in 8 games. That's what's next to their names up for that, for the record. That is how many games they've played so far. Some teams have had to bye, so I wanted to make sure I knew how many games each player has played. But Drake May's got over 2,000 yards passing, 250 yards on the dot rushing, and 17 total touchdowns in 8 games. That's great. He's averaging 2.1 touchdowns, 31 yards rushing, and that's supposed to be 253 yards per game. I'm sorry, I forgot the 2 there. So 253 yards per game, not 53.2 yards. So our running backs that are staple back candidates right now that are meeting the requirements, we start with Jonathan Taylor, 850 rushing yards, 206 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns in 8 games. He's blown it out the water, having a career year right now. He only had 18 catches all of last year. He's got 25 already this season. This is what the Colts should have been doing the whole time. It's why they're winning games, because they're letting Jonathan Taylor be the offense, and everything else is just feeding off of him. Should have been the plan the whole time there. So, anyways, good to see. He's averaging over 106 point. He's averaging 106.2 yards rushing per game, 25.7 receiving, and 1.7 touchdowns, almost 2 touchdowns per game. Christian McCaffrey, he's already hit the 400-yard receiving mark with 559 through 8 games. Got 6 touchdowns, hitting all the requirements, what you want to see. Like I said, he's the staple back king. He's the definition of a staple back. You look it up in the dictionary, it's probably Christian McCaffrey standing next to him. Maybe a Marshall Faulk. Jameer LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, that's the category he's in. Jahmyr Gibbs, in 7 games, he's got 526 rushing yards, 194 receiving, and 7 touchdowns. You see his averages there. He's hitting all the marks that you need. Devon Achane was a staple back last year. Him and Gibbs both were staple back last year. They're both in contention. They're both hitting the marks. Not a big surprise. We expect a lot out of both of these guys, especially the receiving capabilities that they have. DeAndre Swift, a surprise name on this list. 464 yards through 7 games, 192 receiving, and 5 touchdowns. He just made the touchdown. If you'd only have 4, you would have missed it. But 66.2 rushing yards per game, 27.4 receiving yards per game, and 0.71 touchdowns. If he can keep that up, now Monangai's been getting some more touches lately. Maybe he becomes the David Montgomery goal line back. If they get inside like the 7, he just comes in and steals a touchdown. But right now, Swift is getting it done. Maybe a trade away candidate, something to consider. But definitely a player that so far this season, he's in the staple back category. Josh Jacobs. This is a more surprising me. For one, because we know Josh Jacobs' history about receiving touchdowns, which he doesn't have one this year. He only has 9 rushing touchdowns only. But it's still not a receiving touchdown. He got his first one ever in his career last year. Never been known as a huge receiving option, but always been capable of it. They just don't use him that way. But this year, he is much more involved in the receiving game. 447 rushing yards, 191 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns, like I talked about, all rushing. And he is a staple back right now. If he can keep this pace up, which isn't a huge pace, it's almost 64 yards a game, rushing, 27 receiving, and just over a touchdown per game. Now, maybe that drops down a little bit, but you only got to hit the 0.58 touchdowns per game that you see it there at the top. This is what you're looking for, almost 53 yards rushing. That's not a hard task to get if you're a good running back. 23 yards receiving, not a hard task to get if you're a good receiving back. 0.58 touchdowns, that's basically a touchdown every other game. So if you can do that, you can be a staple back and you can be a fantasy league winner. That's what we're looking for from these guys. And then the last guy on this list, Kyren Williams. This actually shocked me because I didn't realize they were using him this much. I don't have Kyren Williams in all but one league. And just haven't realized how much that he's been involved in the receiving game, that he's got enough yards per game to be in the staple back category. But he's got 166 through the air right now, which is a 23.7 average. He's just inside of it. 23.5 is what you need. He's got 23.7, just over that. But if he can keep that up along with the rushing yards and touchdowns, he's an end of the season staple back. And these are the guys. A lot of people might be down on Kyren Williams right now. He's not scoring as many touchdowns as he did in years past. But he's still got 5 touchdowns through 7 games. So it's not like he's doing bad. But maybe he's a guy you can go trade for. Or if you got him, trade away and get something for him and package him with something else and go big. But who knows, man? But these are the guys that, like I said, are all in the staple back categories. They all meet the requirements right now. We got 10 total players that are meeting the requirements after 8 weeks. 7 games for some of them, but 8 weeks. So the guys that just missed the cut, which is the more interesting category, if you ask me, other than that DeAndre Swift and Josh Jacobs and stuff, those last 3 running backs were surprising to me. The players in contention, though, for the staple back category, Jalen Hurts, he needs to pick up his passing a little bit. You see that he's about 14 yards under the average. Everything else he's doing fine. He's been a staple back before, but last year he only had 2,900 yards passing, so the low passing isn't a huge surprise. We need him to get it up if he wants to finish as a staple back. Other than that, he's lower in top 10 quarterbacks. Josh Allen, 222.8, just under it by a hair, man. I mean, at 0.7, that's all he's missing the passing yards by. I'm sure he's going to get over that. He was a staple back last year. I expect him to be a staple back again this year. Lamar Jackson, he's only played 4 games, as you see I have noted here. Same thing with him, pass yards. He needs to bump it up a little bit. Jaden Daniels, same thing, pass yards. They're both averaging over 40 yards rushing. Josh Allen's at 37. And all these guys just need to improve their passing just a little bit. I don't think that's going to be a problem for them. I expect all of them to end as staple backs. But Lamar's already been hurt. Jane Daniels has already been hurt. Maybe not. But right now, their averages say they are in that staple back category other than their passing yardage. Will they actually finish that because of the missed games? Probably not, especially with Daniels and Jackson. And the guy at the bottom of this list, as you can see, Jackson Dart, we'll get in a minute. But those guys that haven't played a full season, it's hard for them to actually hit the requirements. But they are on pace in 2 to 3 categories. That's why I put them in here. C.J. Stroud, here's a surprising one. He's just under it in touchdowns. Now, getting Nico Collins back should help that. So he just missed it out by 0.2 in the touchdown category. But if he can get a couple more touchdowns over the course of the season, which I don't see as impossible by any means, C.J. Stroud could actually finish as a staple back, which would be shocking as hell based off the way people feel about him coming into the season and so far during this season. A lot of people still have him ranked lower than I would. C.J. Stroud's a damn good player. Those rookie receivers are starting to improve, starting to come on a little bit. We saw that last week with Nico and Christian Kirk out. Now, they're both practicing on Wednesday. Nico Collins is supposed to get cleared. Not sure about the Christian Kirk situation. We'll see how much he gets practicing. But all the same, all those weapons being healthy. Woody Marks coming on as that receiving back and part-time running back with C.J. Stroud. All very, very interesting. And if I could get C.J. Stroud away from somebody, I probably would. Jordan Love. I talked about him as a trade candidate in last Wednesday's video. I think it was Wednesday. Maybe it was Thursday when it came out. But all the same, he's just under it on the rushing yards. He needs to get about 10 more rushing yards per game. Love is not a big running quarterback. He's more of a scrambler. Now, if he can get some more scrambles, get that average up a little bit, start getting those 30-yard rushing games instead of 13-yard rushing games, then he's going to bump that average up enough to where he gets in contention for staple back category. Baker Mayfield missed staple back last year by I think it was 8 rushing yards. I think he had like 392 rushing yards. So he just missed it. But as you can see, he's right here. He's only got one of them for the averages that you need. He's got the passing yard average, but he's 3.8 under the rushing yards, 3.8 yards per game. That could definitely improve. 1.6, it's 1.7 is the requirement. He gets, Evans ain't coming back, but Godwin back, Ibuka healthy. McMillan may be coming back. Maybe they make a trade for a receiver. You never know. But I'm sure he can get that up to 1.7 without doing a whole lot more than what he's been doing. We just need to get those rushing yards up a little bit more. But like I said, he missed it last year by 8 yards. Maybe that's a repeat of last year. But definitely a guy that I know he's had a couple down games. I'm still in on Baker Mayfield this year. And then, like I said, the surprise player here, Jackson Dart. In 5 games, he's averaging 196.8 passing yards per game, 39 rushing yards per game, which is, you love to see that, and 2.4 touchdowns per game. He's up there with Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson on a touchdown rate. Pat Mahomes on a touchdown rate. Can he keep it up? We don't know. They did just sign Ray McCloud. They get Darius Slayton back. Those things obviously help. Maybe they make a play for a receiver. Maybe they make a play for a big-name tight end. Who knows? But right now, Jackson Dart, if he can get that passing yardage up by, a little under 30 yards, about 27 yards, he becomes a staple back. And he's somebody, if you picked him up or you drafted him, you're happy as hell at what he's done so far. Let's get those passing yards up a little bit and see that superstardom come out of you. On the running back side, you see the averages here that you need, 52.9, 23.5 receiving, and 0.58 touchdowns per game. The guys that are right there, I mean, look, Bijan was a staple back last year by a large margin. He's 0.57 in the touchdown category. He's just missing the 0.58 that you need. As far as I'm concerned, Bijan is meeting the staple back requirements, but by rule here, he doesn't get it because I think it's like 0.574 or something like that. So he's under the halfway mark. I said, no, you don't get to make the cut. Jaylen Warren, he's doing it on the rushing and receiving side. The rushing, he's just making it. The touchdowns are ridiculous, though. He's only got one touchdown on the season. They got to get him some more TDs. Maybe Ryder just starts using him more as a receiver, but I can't say he's going to end up as a staple back when he's only got one touchdown in 7 games. James Cook, we know what he's doing on the ground, but 12.7 through the air, the receiving yards, just not going to cut it. He's getting a touchdown a game. You love to see that. We got to get those receiving yardage up. Maybe he gets 10 yards less rushing and starts getting 10 yards more receiving, 10, 11 more yards receiving, and get him into that true staple back. And like I said, Barkley, you see these guys, Bijan, James Cook, Saquon Barkley. These guys are all excellent players. They're going to finish high in the running back category. This is just trying to figure out those guys that score multiple ways. And Saquon missed the cut last year because of receiving issues. As you can see here, he's at 19.8. You need 23.5. He's not far behind it, but Hurts is just not throwing him the ball enough. And he's not breaking those long catches that he does get like he did last year on a few of them to get that average up higher. But you want to see him get some more receptions here to truly be that true staple back. He's already having a down year on the rushing side. He's only averaging 64.8 per game. We need Barkley to step it up. We need Philly's offense to get it moving a little bit and for Barkley to end up as a staple back. But it's not like, oh, Barkley's a terrible player. But clearly his averages are down. The 0.75 touchdowns per game, you still love to see that. Ashton Genty here, a rookie for the Raiders, 63.5 rushing yards per game. We need the receiving to go up. He's at 12.2 right now. Now, there was a rough start to his career. Didn't start the way everybody was excited about. He's getting going a little bit more. Rough game last game before the bye. But if we can get him moving a little bit more in the right direction, Geno starts dropping off some more of those passes. He's already got the 0.71 touchdowns that you need. That's plenty for over the 5.58 per game. And if you can get those receiving yards going, Genty can finish as a staple back as a rookie, which would be awesome because that means he's going to be able to be a staple back every year, especially if they get a better damn quarterback there. So, and then Amari Hampton, he's not going to end up total yards wise as a staple back, but he has the staple back requirements other than the touchdowns right now. I only did, what was it? Oh, no, I did every game for him because he only played, I think, 5 games before he got banged. 5 games before he got banged up. I forgot to put that here. 62.8 per game, though, 27.2 receiving. You love that. We get them touchdowns up by 0.18. He's in the staple back category. So when he comes back, I'm expecting that staple back status. He's just not going to finish at the end of the year because of the missed games. Woody Marks, another one of those guys. I cut out the first 3 games of his season, all the stats from the first 3 games because he was hardly involved at all. And I've just went the last 5 weeks. He had a bye in there, so he's technically only played 44 games. And his averages right now, 45.7. I expect that to go up. He can get to that 52.9. Him and Chubb are there, but Chubb's older. Chubb's not getting the carries like he used to. Woody Marks is just slowly taking over. I expect that to get up there. 29.7 receiving already. Love it. 0.75 touchdowns per game. Absolutely love it. Period. You love to see that the rookie there in Houston is a trade for candidate based off of this. I'm expecting him to get over 53, 54 yards a game by end of season. He's not going to finish as a staple back this year when it comes to total yards. But at the end of the day, if he can just keep the pace and improve that rushing yards, he's going to help you win games and he's going to help you win your league. So something to consider. Like I said, no wide receivers have qualified yet. We're going to get in this Thursday night preview to finish it off. We have the Ravens 2-5 versus the Dolphins 2-6. Starts for this game: Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers on the Ravens side, and Tyler Loop as well. And then the Miami side, Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle. Since Tyreek Hill went down, Jalen Waddle's been doing the damn thing. So keep starting him. He's had 1 bad game out of the 4 since Hill left. 3 excellent games. He's finished in the top 10 twice, I think it was, in the top 20 the other time, and then he finished way down but the other time. But that was that Browns game where there was 40-mile-per-hour winds half the time. So flexes for this game, Tua, I'm willing to flex him coming off that 4-touchdown game and the way Baltimore's defense has not been playing. So that's the better way to put it. They had a decent game last week, and they're getting healthier, but I still think Tua could take advantage of some of their weak spots right now. Mark Andrews, I know a lot of you are out on him already. I have him as a trade for candidate simply because Lamar's coming back. And Isaiah Likely, although I think he's actually played more snaps than Andrews lately, Andrews is still that touchdown guy. He's a touchdown-dependent tight end, but this is a game against the Dolphins defense that hasn't been able to stop very much of anything. So Rashad Bateman, I feel like he gets a touchdown in this game. I feel like this is a game that he can take advantage of his speed. Lamar wants to make up for missed time. I promise you that. And Bateman's probably going to end up catching a long one in this game. Riley Patterson, the kicker for the Dolphins, I'll flex him. And Malik Washington, the wide receiver there for the Dolphins, I think you can flex him this week. I think he ends up with about 5 for 60, maybe a 5 for 50, something like that, and maybe a sneaky touchdown, an end-around touchdown when they get close to the goal line. Just something that he's, like I said, he's kind of like a gadget player. And against his Baltimore defense, who hasn't been very stopping a lot, they might get tricked into something, especially with Halloween this week. Sits for this game, Isaiah Likely, like I said, just not doing enough yet. The Baltimore defense, I don't want to start them yet, not confident in them. DeAndre Hopkins, he's been getting 2 catches a game, basically, and that's not going to cut it in fantasy unless it's a touchdown. Now, you can take the dart throw because it's against the Dolphins if you want. I'm not willing to. And then Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell got a little involved last week, and Justice Hill kind of took a little less of snaps. And a game against the Dolphins where I think Derrick Henry's going to go berserk against his run defense, I don't think they're going to be needing much of Justice Hill. He's more that third downs, 2-minute warning, that kind of player. And maybe he gets in and gets some rushing yards, but it's not something I'm like, oh, he's a flex play for sure. And then on the Miami side, Miami defense, no thanks. All of their tight ends, we got to figure out what they're doing. None of them are really important. The Julian Hill kid isn't doing enough. Just since Waller went down, there's nobody there you really want. And then Ollie Gordon, although he had, 40 yards and a receiving touchdown last week. I love Ollie Gordon. You know how I feel about him. But I also feel like they're going to get up. Baltimore's going to get up in this game, and it's going to be more passing, going to be more Achane than it will be Gordon and them trying to control the ball. Sneaky start, though, Keaton Mitchell. And maybe they're sitting Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter, and Keaton Mitchell's the one that comes in and gets some clock. He does returns. He's got the speed. You saw him have a nice play last week. And if they give him 8 to 10 opportunities in the second half of this game, he's a guy that you might be able to throw into a flex spot on a bye week fill-in or injury fill-in and get you 8, 10 points just because he steals a touchdown somehow. So other than that, guys, good luck to you on Thursday Night Football. Hope you liked the Stapleback episode. If you got any questions, just comment down below. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe. I appreciate it. And we're going to get out of here. Hope you're having a good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're watching. Until next time, I'm out. First down, Punts!